Greetings and salutations, and welcome back to Geek Culture Combat. We are your hosts, Rob and Chris, and on this channel, we always like to give you guys some good face-offs, and we act as attorneys, if you will, for particular characters of fantasy. But before we get started, let me go ahead and remind you to go ahead and smash that notification bell, like, share, subscribe. We don't want you to miss any of the debates. And also, in the comment section down below, go ahead and let us know of some fantasy matchups you would like to hear debated. Now, with that, this particular debate is going to be between the vampire hunter himself, Blade, and the Valiant Comics super soldier, Bloodshot. I will be advocating for Blade, and Chris will be advocating for Bloodshot. All right, Chris, would you like to go first, or you want me to go first?
You go ahead and go first this time.
All right, no problem. All right, so I'm going to start with Blade. And Blade was born Eric Brooks to a prostitute. His mother lived in a brothel. They were he was actually raised in the brothel. And basically what happened, how he came to be, is that while his mother was giving birth, she they called a doctor. That doctor happened to be Deacon Frost, who was a vampire. So he began to feed on her while she was giving birth. Okay, and so that's how he became what is known as a Dhampir, which means a vampire copulating with a human, and he is the result of that. And he sorry, and then he was taught at a young age by a guy named Jamal, and taught him about music and taught him about killing vampires, because Jamal was a vampire hunter. Now, over time, Eric became an Olympic level athlete and formidable hand-to-hand combatant, and his skills with knives and daggers was such that he earned his nickname Blade. And then he also had a lot of intimidation when it comes to the vampire world. They pretty much shudder and tremble for the most part. And so they do fear him. And he also received additional training from the legendary Stick. Yes, the same one who trained Matt Murdock, the Daredevil, and Elektra. Okay, so in later years, he was with a team called the Dark Stalkers and stuff. That's with Doctor Strange and a couple of other beings like that. Also, let's see if the other things we can pull up on here. He assisted Strange in the battles, with Dracula and the Dark Holders, and they had a battle with Dracula. So yes, Blade defeated the mother of vampires, the mother of all vampires, Dracula. And of course, in later storylines and like the Civil War and all that, the X-Men, they wanted to resurrect Dracula and all that, of course, against Blade's wishes. Blade was like, that's not a good idea. Jubilee, she became a vampire, and Blade wanted to go ahead and stake her, but of course the X-Men were not having that. And then Blade was like, okay, you guys are going to regret that. So for a little while, Blade was an Avenger by the invitation of Black Panther, and he was also a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a time. He was also a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. So he's been around for a while. He's been been on various teams, and he became to prominence really. I mean, he was born, it was back in like 63 or something like that when Blade first came out, but he came to prominence a little bit later, and he really blew up with Wesley Snipes' rendition of Blade. So once he did, his trilogy, we should say, because Wesley Snipes did actually 3 Blade movies. And of course, they had a failed TV series and stuff like that. But that's a little bit of the history of Blade, a little bit on his abilities, and then I'll turn the mic over to Chris, is being a Dhampir, he basically has all the powers of a vampire with none of the weaknesses. That is superhuman strength, superhuman reflexes, superhuman speed, stamina, agility, heightened senses, and a rapid healing factor that is just under the healing factor of people like Wolverine and Sabretooth. He's just a little less like that. He's short of, he can heal most wounds short of growing back a limb. He can't do that. So he's very, 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 very tough. He's built for this whole vampire and supernatural hunting type things. Obviously, primarily vampires, but he's built for this. He does not have a weakness to sunlight or anything like that. In fact, he got that ability to not be affected by sunlight by Morbius, the living vampire, who isn't. He's a pseudo-scientific vampire, actually, but he got that ability to, not be harmed by sunlight from him. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this mic over to Chris while you tell us about Bloodshot.
Okay, Bloodshot is a super soldier from the Valiant Acclaimed universe. His name is Raymond Garrison. He was an agent going undercover as a mobster named Angelo Mortali, who was killed by the mobsters and brought to Project Lazarus, where he was resurrected as Bloodshot. There's been a couple iterations over the time. The current iteration changes that story up a little bit and has him from something called Project Rising Spirits, the Rising Spirit program. This is the U.S. government super soldier program for the Valiant Entertainment universe. During the course of the series, you find out there's multiple Bloodshots, all of them soldiers that are wiped with their memory and made to fight in American wars. Bloodshot is the current Bloodshot. Ray is also known as Everyman. He served in special forces operations in Syria, Afghanistan, and that's the way we're introduced to this character this go around. In terms of power, he is a super soldier, superhuman strength, speed, all that good stuff. But he also can hack computers because his blood has been replaced and made out of living nanites. It allows him to regenerate. It allows him to hack computers. He can modulate the tone of his voice to get people high, for lack of a better word, just by his voice, and it turns people's technology against him. Current Bloodshot also part of Team Bloodshot, which was the Bloodshot from World War II, the Vietnam War, and all those other American wars, and the Dolls that was a Bloodshot. And they got together to solve some problems and the issues with Project Rising Sun, turning more people into Bloodshots. So, the difference between Bloodshot and a normal super soldier is that Bloodshot is less a soldier and more of a killer. He's programmed to kill. Artificial memories help to reinforce that. If you've seen the Bloodshot movie, it's a similar process in the comics, except their power scales are completely different, and we'll be focusing on the comic book version of Bloodshot for this debate. Back to you, Rob.
All right. Well, let's get into it. First of all, I can say that both of these, we can, Chris and I can both agree that these two gentlemen are fighters. Okay, they're fighters, and we can both agree that they are proficient in weapons, whether it be firearms or bladed weapons. Obviously, we've seen depictions of both of them using firearms and bladed weapons, where Blade obviously have more of a proclivity towards bladed weapons, and I think Bloodshot have a more of a proclivity towards guns, even though they both use both. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So they both use both. So, how I see this going? Let's see here. So, Sun, none of that's going to be a factor. It's going to be a real tough fight because they're very similar. They do have some on the surface level. They're very, very similar. I'm thinking it's going to end up close quarters. I think it's going to be a close quarters combat. And I'm thinking that Blade has a superior martial arts background. I think he has more of a superior background. I understand that Bloodshot, was a soldier. He's no slouch. But we have Blade. I mean, he's like over 70 years old, so I think he has a longer history of fighting because he has a slowed aging. And it's just what he does. It's just what he does. He has the durability to do it. He has the speed and the reflexes to do it. He has the strength to do it. I mean, the guy's strong enough to like rip a vampire's head off with his bare hands, you know, and he's done that. You know, he's jacked people up. I mean, he's clearly tough and durable. He's been depicted of jumping, you know, dozens of feet in the air. He can jump, you know, 50, 60, 70 feet in the air, you know, and he can fall from very high heights, you know, unscathed. Okay, unscathed. He can land on his feet unscathed. He's fine. The dude is just, I mean, he's a fighting machine. He's a fighting machine. He doesn't have the same fatigue part. You know, his musculature generates less lactic acid. So he can go. He can go for a long time doing physical activity, you know, than an ordinary human. You know, durability, like I was saying, says here that his tissues allow him to sustain physical trauma, okay, and can withstand powerful energy blasts, exposure to temperature extremes, great impact forces without being injured. He's been seen taking a blast from Lilith herself, which is, you know, a vampire queen, and walked away with minor burns and injury. He's also contributes to his healing effects, making him more resistant than a normal human, obviously. Okay, that's just on durability. His healing, Blade, you know, like true vampire, he possesses accelerated healing ability, allows him to heal moderate injuries with much greater speed and efficiency than an ordinary human. Okay, he's capable of healing from severe slashes and puncture wounds within a matter of minutes. Okay, to hours. It just depends on the severity of the wound. Okay, it says Wolverine himself stated that his regeneration was almost on par with his during his fight with Blade in Civil War. Okay, however, okay, full disclosure, he cannot regrow limbs. So, you know, I just want to put that out there like that. But he does have tough. The dude is tough. The dude is tough as nails, and he is a master martial artist. He's a master marksman. He's a master or expert swordsman. He's proficient in all these weapons. I'm not sure. Oh, and yes, he does have some sorcery. I just wanted to throw that in there and just want to see what Bloodshot gonna do with that.
Oh, I would love to answer that. First off, while Blade might be older does not mean more skilled, because as I pointed out earlier, Bloodshot has computers in his blood. He also has a direct connection to the internet, and he's also already been uploaded with the databases of martial arts styles, combat skills, weapons, information. Imagine the Matrix, where they put those skills in the Neo's head. That's already been done for Bloodshot. He already has those skills. He's already a fighter. He's already skilled with every weapon that he can come across, because he has the password in his head, because he is the living, breathing internet. So, if he goes to close combat, I don't think Blade is going to take it, because whatever styles that Blade is using, he already knows. He also doesn't get tired, because his nanites rebuild his tissue as he's doing it, rebuilding torn muscle, things like that. All those minor damages, not going to happen. Major damage, yeah, that will require, you know, some protein, but he can regenerate limbs. He can come back, and if it gets too close of a grappling match, his nanites will just eat Blade's body as they're rolling around on the ground. You don't even have to punch him for that. If Blade damages him enough, then the nanites are going to eat Blade if Blade gets too close.
Well, what is Bloodshot gonna do? Because he does have a particular weakness, or should I say, a weak spot. That red dot on his apparel and on his shirt in his chest. Okay, it's not just decoration. It's actually a weak point into his body. Sometimes that point even bleeds. Okay, that's like one of his. It's kind of a gaping wound almost. So he's gonna have to do something with that. I mean, that can be exploited, because it's almost like your eye in combat is drawn to that red dot. So he's actually put a target, like, here, hit me right here. So just like they say, Batman, he uses his bat symbol in his chest, so people can go ahead and try to hit center mass. The same way they say Punisher has his big skull right there, so they can hit center mass rather than his head. You got Bloodshot advertising where his weak spot is, and I'm sorry, Blade's gonna exploit that. It's what he does.
It's not, you see, that's where you mess up. It depends on the version of Bloodshot. The current version of Bloodshot, that's not a weakness. That's just the scar tissue where the things were injected. That's not a weakness at all. They can pop him there all day. He's gonna be fine.
Well, it's
previous versions, yeah. Not this one.
It's not like, okay, he does have healing factor, but it's not like Bloodshot can't be hurt. He can be injured.
He definitely can. But if he's in close combat, all he has to do is grab your guy and hold him, and his body will heal by eating Blade's body.
Okay, well, Blade is not a weakling, and he's not going to just stand there and let him have that. This is a fight. There's going to be some movement going on.
I'm saying, if anybody that's been in a fight knows it involves grappling, but if every time you're touching somebody, and their body is eating you, they're healing, you're getting weaker. So it can't stay a close combat fight, because that's going to drain Blade, because protein is protein.
Well, I'm not saying it's going to stay a close. It's going to be in and out. It's going to be close and far. They're going to be shooting at each other. Then it gets close. They're going to be bringing out their blades. It's going to be melee and bullets flying in this phase.
And Blade also is at a disadvantage. If they're fighting in the city, then Bloodshot can use the entire city against him. He can shift the electrical grid. He can use the cameras around him to duck and dodge and attack him on where he wants to attack from. He has a battle. He can run the battlefield in his head. It's not like they're just throwing fists or shooting each other. Blade can see him, but he can see Blade with the whole damn city.
Yeah, but with some of Blade's sorcery over there in one of those Spider-Man comics, he showed exceptional prowess in sorcery and the supernatural when he assumed Photon's light mimicry, okay, of shields, that bought him time and stuff. So he can manipulate light.
Okay, that's still really good, but you still... Blade doesn't normally use magic.
Not normally, but he
normally use technology. So Blade can get out of his comfort zone and use magic, but Bloodshot is going to have the advantage there because this is something he does. This is a part of his everyday skill set. It's not, he's already did his 1,000 times to memorize this stuff.
Okay.
Blade is, he has potential with magic, but he is not. It's not his go-to.
I agree with that. It's not his go-to. It's not. I do agree with that.
So if they're in the battlefield, whatever the battlefield does, Bloodshot is going to have tactical advantage.
So are you
because he has Overwatch, he has eyes on the ground.
Okay, he does.
Because he can work that whole computer system.
Okay, so
not just that. It's not just that. He can put out APBs and force his blades to wear himself down trying to get away from cops.
Okay, so you're gonna distract him by calling the popos on the man?
Yeah.
Gotta call the popos on the black man.
Keep him off guard, and then you hammer him till he dies.
Okay, but it's not like your boy, what is it, Garrison? It's not like Bloodshot is gonna walk away, unscathed. He is gonna take some bullets. He is gonna take some slashes. He is got, he could get his throat cut. That's a normal thing. He could be impaled. There's a lot of things, and we do know that Blade does have all sorts of weaponry. Okay, he has all sorts of.
Here's the thing. Bloodshot only needs to fall back one time and lose Blade. Blade will have to search to find him to get an opportunity to attack, but Bloodshot has that city advantage, has the fact that the world is built around the internet, so all that access is his. He can fall back and pick and choose his points of attack. He doesn't have to get up close, because if he does attack him, he can snipe him. He can know where he's going to be. He can put him in a situation where he wants him exactly.
Control over
on a building with a sniper rifle and manipulate the lights as Blade is driving to the encounter to put him right in the barrel of a sniper rifle at a dead red stoplight.
Yeah, but this is a fight, so that's a scenario that doesn't happen in the outset. It's just that, hey, they have an issue for whatever reason. They have an issue with each other, and it's go time. So just kind of cruising in a car, just cruising along in a car, sitting at a stoplight.
If it's a go time, I'm saying all Bloodshot has to do is make Blade lose sight of him once, and then he can set up anywhere he wants to take Blade out. Because he has the tactical advantage in all the situations.
But Blade, okay, but Blade, Blade is no stranger to ambush. You have being the preeminent vampire hunter, and in the underworld, a lot of the supernatural know about Blade and his comings and some of his comings and goings, and he has survived ambushes before. It's not like he hasn't survived ambushes. Okay, so.
Right. I'm not saying he hasn't survived the ambush, but he hasn't survived the ambush by Bloodshot. In fact, you know that scene in what's that movie? Fast and Furious, where Cypher sends all those remote controlled cars after the Vegas? He can do that. He can take over the cars and hurl them at Blade.
Understood.
Every Tesla on the road, every car with smart assist driving is now one of his weapons. And he has all those cameras to use to make sure that he always has a sight on Blade where Blade doesn't have a sight on him.
Okay, well, all Blade has to do, my closing remark is, I think Blade, all he has to do is close the distance. He doesn't always have to be really far away where someone can take pot shots at him or whatever. It is a fight. So I understand that if they're close at first and then they back off and they have distance or whatever, those things could come into play. But if we're going at it, it's go time, then, he can't duck this fade. Bloodshot can't duck this fade.
You don't need to. Bloodshot, if they're at long range, Bloodshot has tactical advantage. If they're mid-range, they're probably equal. If they're close range, Blade heals faster, but Bloodshot's body will eat Blade.
All right, so I'm going to let that be your closing remarks. It's up to the fans to say who they got winning. It is Blade versus Bloodshot. Put it in the comment section down below. We want to hear what you have to say. Who won the fight? Don't forget to smash that notification bell, like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next debate.